What is going on, guys? So a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about Paris Campbell. What happened between last year to this year? Why is he being so dominant right now in camp? We're going to be talking about Jaylen Hunt. We're going to be talking about Quinyon Mitchell, and to see if, is the nickel spot going to be his last shot at really doing anything to even try to get a starting job this year? I can't believe I'm even saying that right now. And we're going to be going over the Tyler Steen injury as well. So a lot to talk about here. So let's get straight into all of the news. Let's go.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. I'm here to cover the Philadelphia Eagles as usual. So the Eagles, by the time you watch this, the Eagles will probably be in pads for the first time, which is fantastic. So very excited for that. But I think we need to talk about a few things here. Okay, number one, Paris Campbell. Now the Eagles have a lot of familiarity with Paris Campbell. Why is he having such a dominant camp? Dominant summer, been fantastic. Just remember, a few years ago, the Eagles were trying to draft Paris Campbell over J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, but it looks like the analytics won over what the Eagles really wanted, and we drafted J.J. instead. Now, what you have here is a pure slot guy. He's a pure slot guy. Nick Sirianni has familiarity with him tremendously. We all know this. Okay, the Eagles have done their homework on him. We all know this. What were the two positions in the 22 Super Bowl that were horrible? Okay, wide receiver 3 and running back. And the Eagles have upgraded at both a few years later, 2 years later. Okay. Now, when you look at this team right now, and who was the last wide receiver 3 that was very successful here, really successful? I guess Nelson Agholor, really, in 2017, even though the one good year he had in Philadelphia, that was the best year he had. Okay, and finally an upgrade. We saw Paris Campbell, what he did the other day against Darius Slay, right sideline catch, fantastic, perfect pass by Jaylen Hunt, dropped it right into the breadbasket. And Paris Campbell is just taking off, looking like he is solidifying that position like crazy. And we might actually have a wide receiver 3 now at that position, okay? A player at that position that is going to handle those big moments. Because Quez Watkins, certain times when Jaylen Hurts is extending plays, was not sometimes jogging, sometimes not being fast enough, sometimes just not getting after the football or attacking the football at times. Quez Watkins was just major inconsistency and big moments. He just couldn't pan out for us. And just injuries, if I didn't say that before, because I might repeat myself a million times sometimes. Okay. And Olamide Zaccheaus, man, I really liked him, but the Eagles just never gave him a chance. No opportunity, no nothing at all. I think that's a lot of that's going to change this year, because Kellen Moore isn't just going to target Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. There's going to be so much more that goes into the pre-snap motion and everything else that goes into it. Jaylen Hurts' speed is back, and it's going to make this offense more dangerous than ever. Wide receiver should be dominant this year like there's no other. Crossers, hot routes, you name it, that's what we're going to get, and this is what these guys need. Okay? So a lot of questions were asked for Paris Campbell on, obviously, last year. He was with the Giants last year. 2 years ago, he had, over 600 yards with the Colts. So they asked him, pretty much if he made any changes, from last year to this year. He was with the Giants last year. We all know this. He said, a key part for me of the offseason was diet, for sure. I was in New York, and I was inactive for the last 5 weeks. So I was in a rut a little bit. I was in an emotional rut. I don't know if you've ever heard of an emotional eating. I was just eating to try to wash away the pain. I found myself gaining some weight, and I knew I shouldn't have gained. So that was a big factor for me, just kind of getting back into my regimen, eating the right things, working out. I was doing 3 workouts a day, lifting, boxing, running, just trying to get back fit. So, totally understandable. Because when we got Paris Campbell, it wasn't the most exciting thing. I know the talent is there, but when you go to the New York Giants, that's where careers are going to die if you stay there long enough. And hopefully, some players will get out. Saquon Barkley's going to have a big year for the Eagles. But Paris Campbell, the Eagles know how to use him. I know that Kellen Moore likes a lot of that speed in the slot. You know what I mean? Keenan Allen had his best year as a wide receiver under Kellen Moore last year. Over 30-year-old receiver had his best year with Kellen Moore late in his career, which is fantastic. But hoping to see more dominance from Paris Campbell. And we talked about the other guys, like Britton Covey has been solid, been good. John Ross has been very solid. And Nia Smith really has been the only one that hasn't done much of anything. You just remember Nia Smith was dealing with an injury between minicamp and OTAs and minicamp. I think he only practiced like the second to last day or the last day of minicamp, and that was it until training camp. So he was already dealing with an injury he already had. So he had a couple drops. He's had some good separation at times with some bad balls thrown to him, but other than that, there's got to be more time that's consistent right now when we get into joint practices and these preseason games and what's going to happen here. I'm excited to see these guys under the lights finally in a couple weeks or in a week, whatever, and see what, Paris Campbell does and the rest of this group does. I feel really good about it this year. I know Kellen Moore is going to give all these guys a shot because remember, Howie Roseman did say that wide receiver 3 is the closest. This is the position they're going to be looking at daily every single day. And Paris Campbell is leading the pack by a landslide 1.5 miles. So let me know what you guys think about Paris Campbell going forward. I think we're all very excited for him. Now, Jaylen Hunt, Martin Frank had some things to say about Jaylen Hunt, saying that he was blowing guys up, backup tight ends chipping to help him, to try to slow him down. And he beat Mulata a couple times. He actually did. He's had a pretty strong camp. What we've heard so far, there's not much video on him right now. Take everything with a grain of salt too, because the Eagles aren't in full pads right now. No full pads. Defensive lineman can only do so much. You can only like bull rush somebody so much without hurting them and throwing them to the ground or whatever you're trying to do as a defensive lineman. Okay, just imagine if Jaylen Hunt, the handpicked pick by Vic Fangio. Okay, you got rid of HaasonReddick. Josh Sweat's not a Philadelphia Eagle after this year. Brandon Graham's retiring. Nolan Smith is still a mystery to this point because it's not his fault. The Eagles just didn't give him enough snaps as a first-round pick. You barely get playing time last year. Ridiculous. Okay, and Bryce Huff is trying to make sure he's the right, he's coming at $17 million a year. A lot of pressure on him on his first really big contract after 110-sack season, heavy rotation with the Jets, and is really going to be dependent on for more reps. You know what I mean? Still a rotation, but it's not going to be a third down edge rusher anymore. And you're going to be in coverage. And athletically, you're going to be doing a lot more things. So a lot of pressure on him. So we know Bryce Huff is going to be good. Brandon Graham will be good in the rotation. But Jaylen Hunt, I think, we're going to find out what he's made of going into, joint practices. And when we actually get the full pads on, start hitting a little bit, feel really good about it. I don't know what to say that, I'm not trying to hype him up or anything, but just imagine if he just explodes this year. I want to see this guy in coverage. Houston Christian. I mean, that's the school he went to. Not a big school. He transitioned from a safety, so he's 6. I mean, he's a big dude. He's a big dude playing an edge rusher right now. He's got that safety body, but for his size, he's got a lot of quickness. And he's beat some veterans on our team with his bull rush and what he's done. So Jaylen Hunt is a third-round pick. You wouldn't say, third-round picks are supposed to be role players, okay? The Eagles favored him a lot, came in for a visit before the draft happened. So the Eagles already had a lot of interest in him, but if I'm praying for anything right now is this defensive line does not make me comfortable at all. I think it's very lackluster. This is the first time in a lot of years I've been saying the Eagles don't have a great depth, and they put a lot of faith into a lot of uncertainty with this defensive line. You lost Fletcher Cox in the rotation, which I think takes a big hit to defensive tackle, but I like Milton Williams. Mauro Jomo flashed a little bit, and obviously you have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, so there's things to be excited about there. But edge is like the biggest, I think is one of the biggest weaknesses to our defense right now, just because it's just too much uncertainty. And if Nolan Smith produced last year and had 4 to 6 sacks, I'd feel a little bit better, with the HaasonReddick trade. I would have felt a little bit better about other things. But I get why HaasonReddick went. I understand the whole story now. The Eagles couldn't hold on to him. He wasn't moving from his number. And the Eagles go out and get a guy that fits the scheme because HaasonReddick is a streaky player that will give you 0 sacks for this month, 6 sacks for next month, and his pass coverage was god horrible because He's not used that way. He shouldn't be used that way. Jaylen Hunt is going to be a balance of both. Okay, with that safety background where he can tackle guys in space and cover guys in space, it's going to be great to have here. So I can't wait to see more from Jaylen Hunt, the big mystery player of this offseason program. So we're going to see a lot more. I'm hoping to see a lot more. So we'll find out. Quintin Mitchell is another one that is just, I don't know what's going to happen here. You have Sidney Brown out. You have Cooper DeJean out. Okay, Cooper DeJean was playing a lot of inside, a lot of nickel. Don't know if they were going to move him to safety. If that's the case, we know James Bradberry is there. It seems like James Bradberry has accepted the fact that he changed positions on his own because he knew what the Eagles were doing. He said, "Hey, coach, move me to safety. I know I know I didn't play good last year. Let me get another crack at this. Let me try to change spots." So I give a lot of respect to James Bradberry, for what the interview he had the other day. He made one little mistake in that interview, which kind of messed up the whole thing of him getting traded. But everything else he said perfectly. Quinyon Mitchell, though, because, everybody has had a shot so far. Keely Ringo has been to the first team. Okay, Keely Ringo has had a shot at first team. Eli Ricks has moved to the second team. Okay. Isaiah Rodgers has been doing pretty good. I mean, you have a quality cornerback in Isaiah Rodgers with 3 years under his belt. That's what he has. That's what he has on Quinyon Mitchell right now. Now, Quinyon Mitchell has actually covered really well during camp. He hasn't been beaten by 10, 15 yards. Like, if that's what you guys think, that's not happening. His coverage is really good. He's literally just getting these catches by him by a millisecond. That's how close it is. Every video that I see and everything that I see here talked about when it comes to Quinyon Mitchell and his coverage, it's good coverage. It's just finishing the play really has been the big issue. But like I said, he is a rookie, but he is a first-round pick. Now, the last couple practices, they have moved Quinyon Mitchell to that nickel spot. Now, I know Avonte Maddox has played nickel, for us, obviously, and they've moved him to safety in the past, especially in OTAs and minicamp. Tyler Hall could play nickel and safety, so you have a lot of hybrid players there. Avonte Maddox got to stay healthy, but I don't think Avonte Maddox is really promised that nickel spot. Is this really where Vic Fangio wants him? This is really on Vic Fangio. If I see Quinyon Mitchell playing more nickel, is he quick enough for that nickel spot? That's really going to be like the big question. Like, is he quick enough? I mean, I would say, sure, maybe he can cover the tight ends. He could do a little bit more, surely, on that. Because I think his toughness is there. I think he has that pushback attitude. I do like him a lot. I thought him and A.J. Brown have always had good competition so far during training camp. One play, A.J. Brown kind of fell, and Quinyon was in front of him. And then the next play, A.J. Brown got back at him. You're not going to beat A.J. Brown every rep. It's not going to happen. So if outside, it seems to me that outside corner is just it's not happening. It just seems like it's not. I'm sorry, but Keely Ringo is playing better than Quinyon, is at least in this offseason pro. Keely Ringo is playing very well. Got to keep him in the building as our future number 2, whatever's going to happen with him. Eli Ricks is moving up the depth chart a little bit. I mean, guys are getting a lot of playing time. When you have 2 corners out right now, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity that now. Like, someone gets hurt, doesn't matter if Cooper DeJean's a second-round pick. You're going to try to go in there and try to make the coaches happy regardless of what the situation is. And if Quinyon Mitchell is not even considered on the outside, can he handle the inside? And if he can't handle the inside, I don't want him to sit on the bench all year as a red shirt year, and then next year is his restarting year. Like, next year is his first year. I don't want to go through that situation with a first-round pick cornerback, okay? So we're going to find out what happens in the near future. But, not saying Quinyon never had first team reps, as the number 1 outside cornerback, or the number 2 you should call it because of Slay. But Quinyon, it just seems like they put him at nickel mostly there, and if he can't pan out there, then he's gonna sit. I don't know. The only good thing about it is Ricks can't play inside. Keely Ringo can't play the inside. Sidney Brown probably not Cooper DeJean being out, I think, is affecting this tremendously because I don't know where they're ultimately going to put Cooper DeJean. Is he more situational? Is he a Swiss Army knife for this defense, a move-around type player, adjusting to matchups every single week for this season? I think that's where they should put. They should do how they should use him because I think keeping Cooper DeJean at one position all year is going to make him worse. I think it actually is a weakness. I think you're not expanding his wings even more and letting him out there, expanding his lens of what he can actually do. So I think keeping Cooper DeJean at one position is a total waste for him. Quintin Mitchell, this is his last stop. That's what it seems like. And I know it's very early. He's only practiced with the team a few times. Well, he's practiced, he's had OTAs, mini camp, and obviously being here with Eagles training camp and having rookie camp has helped, but he needs more time. There's just not enough time under his belt. He's got way too much guys in front of him that have already had starting experience, play time, years. I'm sorry, but Isaiah Rodgers is better right now than anybody besides Slay, or as good as Slay or better. Isaiah Rodgers has played the best out of probably all the cornerbacks right now. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think Quinyon Mitchell, where do you think finally he's going to be? Or do you think when Cooper DeJean comes back, because DeJean is out 3 weeks from the first day of camp, he's only going to miss one preseason game. He will actually make it on the 11th, the week of the 11th of August. August 9th is the first preseason game. He can come back August 11th. He will not miss joint practices and he won't miss the last 2 preseason games. So he'll be back for a lot more, but it just sucks that we don't have him right now. So if DeJean was back in, what would happen with Quinyon? Would Quinyon Mitchell even be with the second team at this point? I mean, it's a lot to question now. I think it's interesting to talk about this because I really want Quinyon to succeed. He's our first round pick. I have to make a big deal out of this. For people who say don't make a big deal out of it, I'm going to make a big deal because he's our first round pick. That's why. So we have to be. When a team has so much depth at a specific position, you really have to be careful you don't make the wrong choice. That's the next thing that I'm afraid of. I'm hoping I'm wrong going down the line. And lastly, Tyler Steen's injury looks like a mild ankle injury. We know that Darian Kennard has taken his spot at right guard. So this happened at practice the other day. We know a lot of guys are getting playing time. Trevor Keegan at left guard. Dickerson's back now. Mekhi Becton was with the second team right tackle, and before that, he was playing. He was pretty much the backup to any position besides center at this point. Left tackle, right guard, right tackle. They've already discussed that Mekhi Becton's going to be playing tackle and guard, so he's either going to be a backup or he's going to be a starter for this team. I think he's showing some great things. Tyler Steen now is going to be out for a few days, which we'll see where they actually put Mekhi Becton now. If they start him right at that right guard spot, it's taken. I already think it's already happening right now. But I don't know what's going on with Tyler Steen at practice, though. How well is he actually doing? So that's probably the one bit of news that I really haven't heard too much. Offensive line-wise, I don't hear much about. A few little things, pretty much where guys are starting. Guys aren't hitting the quarterback. Defensive linemen, the defense isn't hitting the quarterback. There's no pads on. So at the time, there was no pads on. So how much are they really trying at times? They do their little activities as a group, but, Tyler Steen, how well is he doing in front of the eyes of Jeff Stoutland? Mekhi Becton is coming to take that job, okay? Not saying Tyler Steen, I think, is going to be a great player. I mean, he came out of Alabama as a left tackle. They turned him into a right guard. I mean, there's a lot of talent there. Jeff Stoutland calls him it's like a remembrance of like Brandon Brooks in a lot of ways, which is really good to see. So, but I think there's a good favor between Mekhi Becton and Tyler Steen right now. I like Trevor Keegan. I like Dylan McMahon. That could be probably your next Sua Opeta. Matt Hennessy can play center as well, and the guard spot. So I think depth-wise, I think there's just still micromanaging what's going on at that position, and we'll see what happens down the road. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. That was Eagles training camp. Some news coming out of it. Let me know what you guys think about some of the things I did talk about today. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel. We'll be covering more of Eagles training camp every single day. We'll be streaming the preseason games, streaming the regular season games, 5 streams a week during the regular season. So it's going to be really busy. Thank you so much. Like the video if you guys have it. It helps out the channel tremendously. And I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes what up, follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.